Welcome to our program on Kardec Radio.
Welcome, dear friends, to Kardec Radio in our Health and Spirituality program every Saturday for 11 years almost. This coming July 4th at 12 p.m. sharp, we're going to celebrate 11 years. 11 years of the opportunity of seeing the bridge between health and spirituality, and most of all, the togetherness of all minds and hearts in this quest to the truth, seeking the light. We have identified over the years together, you and I, how many of us are in this pathway, though with different names, different traditions, but at the end of the day, we are all talking about this universal truth that is loving, caring, and can certainly define a new era on earth. Today, I'm truly moved because finally, after so many years, Abby Scher from Baltimore, a great friend of the Spirit Society of Baltimore, Kardec Radio, and our hearts, she has been inviting me to meet another community. Nowadays, you can find more information if you go to the website. And I have here with me, I'm going to share with you, the website Awake Yoga Meditation in Baltimore, Maryland. A city that for me is like a birthplace. I'll never forget when I got the my first American passport, and by mistake, the government stamped born in Baltimore, Maryland. And I was like, whoa, it's meant to be. I was reborn there, but I haven't had the chance to meet the Swami at the time that was leading the community, Swami Shankarananda. And she offered many opportunities, but life didn't allow me. But today, his successor is here with us. And she will be talking about so many beautiful things that we invite you to sit down, really relax, feel the vibrations of loving kindness, because that's exactly what we need on earth right now. We're so tired of aggressiveness and wars. I shouldn't even say it because you know it, but we're thirsty for the soothing relationships in our lives, relationships that are easily loving, but that's a construction. It's not a given, right? We need to build it together. And that's why today we're honored to have here with us the representative of this beautiful community. And she's here with us, Swami Nityananda. Thank you so much, Swami, for being here with us today. Thank you.
It is a joy to be with you. Thank you for your wonderful energy and light and the loving kindness that you not only speak, but share so palpably.
Thank you so much. So in the website, when we go to the website of the community, Awake Yoga Meditation, we can see so many beautiful things happening. And I would like you to have an opportunity to talk about the community, the objective of the community, and the services, the teachings that you offer. I know there is a website and there is a statement on the mission, but it would be so great to hear from you.
Sure, absolutely. So anyone who's interested in visiting the website, it is awakeyogameditation.org. And we have a physical presence in Baltimore. So on Sundays at 11 a.m., we meet and meditate in person. We also share those meditations via Zoom and then via YouTube as well. So anyone who likes is welcome to watch live at that time, but also you can find recordings of the meditations on YouTube as well. And then we have meditations on Tuesdays and on Fridays also, and those happen at 7:30 p.m. And so our mission is to share very much what you said, Vanessa, in your opening, just the teachings of truth, the teachings of light, the teachings of kindness in daily life, the eternal truths of oneness as they are articulated in the yoga philosophy that comes to us from India. So my teacher was Swami Shankarananda, and he was the spiritual leader and the meditation teacher at the meditation community for 40 years in Baltimore. He left the body, as we say in the yogic traditions. He passed away, as we say in the West, in 2014. And when he passed away, before he passed away, he asked me to serve as his successor. So there was a process of training and readiness for that. And so since 2014, it has been a great joy to work together with many, many other meditation community friends to be the light and to be the kindness in our daily lives. And as you were saying, so sort of connecting to each of us has this inner light, this inner awareness, this vitality, this feeling of wholeness, and this feeling of dynamic life energy. And so how to move in our relationships, in our workplaces, in our communities, in our neighborhoods, in our worlds, from that awareness of wholeness and from that awareness of harmony and beauty and balance. And that awareness is what is vaster than the individual. And so it sweeps away all the human created illusions of divisiveness and finitude and separateness. And so that's why we share the teachings. It's also just a great joy and so much fun to connect with what is eternally true.
That's so beautiful. And the concept of oneness, some people have a hard time understanding what it is, right? We in Spiritism talk about this connection. We are social beings. We live under the law, the divine law of society. We're meant to be together. But so many people feel so separated from one another. Would you like to share more how the feeling of oneness can probably solve so many problems we have in our relationships, right?
That's so well said. Thank you for articulating it so beautifully. And so there's a number of ways to connect with that feeling of oneness. And I think one of the things that I would do is invite myself and you and everyone who's listening to just allow ourselves to relax. And when we are in contact with our human awareness of all that needs to be done, so all the real tasks of our daily lives, all the news headlines, all the sort of invitations that are clamoring for our attention, it can feel more like we are human doings rather than human beings.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
So we're inviting ourselves to connect with that beingness first. And so there's like this relaxation, this sense of ease, the sense of clarity and peace, this quiet, this joy, which is available to all of us. And it's sort of prior to language. And it's also beyond all concepts and beyond all doctrines. And so this is what you were talking about in your intro. It's present everywhere.
Yeah.
It's present in all the teachings of truth. And it also is the breath that is breathing through us right now. And it's the heart that is beating in us right now. And it's the way whatever chair we're sitting in right now is supporting us. And that's an image, a direct felt connectedness with the way that oneness is supporting each of us always, no matter what it is that we move through in the midst of our daily lives. And so that's we can call it like the foundation of our beingness. We can call it our original wholeness, our harmony. We can call it oneness. We can call it that which is beyond two-ness. And then we also can acknowledge that in the midst of our daily lives, we do have a lot of different standpoints, a lot of different perspectives. And all of those, interestingly enough, are the one appearing to us through all of those voices, all of those standpoints, all of those articulations, all of those invitations. So when we are in contact with that inner calm and clarity and peace and kindness, we're able to look upon the diversity and the seeming divisiveness with a sort of relaxed understanding that this too is the one greeting us through the many. And so an easy example is your smile. I see your smile and it just gives me a feeling of joy and it gives me a feeling of community. So even if we're meeting for the first time, it helps me recognize, like, you are a being devoted to light. You are a being devoted to that truth, to living those principles of wholeness and health and joy and harmony right where you are. So right in your body and in your relationships, right where you are. And everyone who's listening to that is also a being of light, a being of kindness, devoted to living that energy of harmony and balance and clarity and wholeness and healing right where they are, right in the midst of our daily lives. And so you can also kind of think of it as, so right now you're broadcasting, and there's like a physical, literal way in which you're broadcasting on radio right now. But always say that you go to the grocery store after this, you're broadcasting when you walk through the aisles of the grocery store. You're broadcasting always. And so is everyone else who's listening to this right now. So you're riding a bus, you're walking down the street, you're driving in your car, you're on a subway, you're broadcasting. And so as you tune into those frequencies of wholeness and oneness, you're sharing that. You become like this mobile broadcast station everywhere that you are. And so hundreds of people are affected by you everywhere that you are, everywhere that you go. And it happens silently. It happens because you're choosing the principles of kindness and the principles of truth and the principles of love, the principles of oneness. And so this naturally, spontaneously, right where you are, right in the midst of your work and tasks and relationships, it infuses itself through every word that you speak. It infuses itself through the choices that you make. And it benefits hundreds of people, some of whom will reflect that back to you and you'll recognize that. Some of whom you'll never know that you're having this kind of calming effect. Like you walk into the room and the energy of the room shifts thanks to you being there.
Oh, that's amazing. And I was thinking about when you're saying this oneness, you talked about practice of, I love when you said the human doings, human beings. Like, how do we practice being? So is that where meditation and yoga come into place?
Yes, it's fantastic. So the importance of meditation is it is one of the most pure and direct, potent ways to just open a doorway to that energy of beingness. So you're absolutely right. The wonderful ideal or invitation is for each of us in the morning, if we can, and start small. So if you don't already have a meditation practice, 5 minutes. Start a 5-minute meditation practice at the beginning of the day. And even just setting an intention today, I will be 1 drop kinder than I was yesterday. Today, I will be 1 drop more patient and peaceful and filled with love and good humor and laughter than I was yesterday. So the Buddha says, drop by drop, the bucket is filled. And so if every one of us, every day, we choose just one drop more, the bucket gently and gradually fills, and we notice, and the people we encounter also notice as well, as we continue this connecting with this energy of clear, calm awareness, which is what we do when we meditate, connecting with the purity and the potency of that intention. Just let me be more kind. Let me be more patient. Let me be more present and caring and responsive and aware today. And then at the end of the day, you can check back in and you can, with love and patience and good humor and honesty, say, did I do it? Did I manage to be one drop kinder today? And if you did, pat yourself on the back. Good job, self. And if not, forgive yourself and then set an intention. Okay, I will learn. I will become aware. And next time I will take a breath before I respond with something less than what is my highest and best. And then just notice. And gradually what happens, it's like you are an athlete. And so just as athletes train and they develop fortitude, they develop the ability to be enduring in all sorts of conditions, that happens with us. So as we steady ourselves, as we establish ourselves in this practice, we gain, you could call it spiritual muscles, you could call it energetic awareness, the ability to, if you've ever seen like a duck or a dog get water on it and it just kind of shakes it off and then it goes right on with its day. So we gain the ability to do that. So formerly things that would feel sticky to us, they just sort of bounce off us the same way that a dog or a duck is able to shake off those drops of water.
It's so beautiful. Talking about this doingness versus beingness, I remember one of the books that sometimes we mention here at Kardec Radio is this book about the spiritual city and a physician who was renowned. He discarnated, left the body, and then he was great here, like human-wise on earth, but when he got there, he identified he was in the doingness, and he forgot to be. It's so beautiful because it goes hand in hand, and then people ask, how do I do it? Because we want to do things, but as you said, an athlete, you project yourself mentally there, so you can bring your whole self there, manifesting the intention that you're setting. But I think many people, would you agree, Swami? Many people are not educated. Majority of people on earth are not aware or not even educated on how to set more noble intentions, because we're in the materialistic meal of daily life. Like, I want a house, family, a car, promotion, this, that, and the other. And we forget that we are much more than that. And these are passing things. So I think this meditation will go within to rescue this essence in us, right?
The light, so what you're talking about, I think, is so beautiful and so pure. The light in us, when we're in contact with the light in us will always guide us. So the light in us will help us to find work and to find housing and to find relationships and to express and experience in time and space what is most optimal for us. And so, I mean, one of the ways that teaching has been shared before is seek first the kingdom of heaven and all else will be added unto you. And so to sort of go to the light, connect with the light, and then allow that to infuse the choices that we make. And I think that what you're articulating, I think for many humans, there is a sort of feeling of urgency a feeling of I need to provide for myself in these ways. Like I got to take care of all of these things. You just mentioned a bunch of sort of outer oriented things. And so I think there is a sort of natural way that in the human life, there's a focus on that, on building that. And then at a certain point in many people's lives, there comes an awareness, this light is where all of it comes from. And so let me connect with this light. Let me connect with this peace and this joy. And then we find we're actually able to fully inhabit and fully enjoy the work and the relationships and the dwelling place and the moving through. This is an amazing world to be in when we are aware that it's the one expressing through all of our experiences.
Yeah. And it's interesting because you're saying this, but we're living at a time. We hope it's the end of the pandemic. So many people have left the body in unexpected ways due to COVID or the other things. More than 6 million just COVID related. And I see the timing of a book that you in the community have put together. And I want to share with everyone because I now realize it's after 7 years that you took over the community or continued Swami Shankarananda's legacy. And then this book that Abby Share kindly sent to me. Thank you, Abby. Divine Protection, the Yoga of Psalm 91. When I received this book, Swami, just the cover, I feel, like when I put it on my heart, I feel the content of the book. And before I show them a clip that your community made on the book so the audience can see, I'd like you to share a little bit about the making of the book for the public and the timing, the decision to publish in 2021, a critical year for humanity on Earth.
Thank you. And I just love what you said. It makes me smile with my whole heart that you can feel the energy of the book. So the book is formed from talks that Swami Shankarananda, who was my meditation teacher, gave. And so he gave those talks, and we have the recordings of those talks. And the process of publication was that it was a great joy for me to transcribe the talks and edit them for publication. And then volunteers within the community helped publish and helped create the video that you mentioned as well. And so sort of like even the cover photography, that comes from members of the community who lovingly shared their work. And it's so beautiful. And so these are teachings that Swami Shankarananda offered on Psalm 91. And he is showing us how the teachings of Psalm 91 present universal entry points so that each of us can transform fear into courage and transform anxiety into trust and transform those moments that you mentioned where it can be really destabilizing from a human perspective to see so much change and so much loss and so much transformation that we're still right in the midst of. How to transform all of that into an awareness and a direct connecting with the highest good, even if we cannot see it humanly. The highest good is somehow being done. And so each of us is invited in our daily lives to connect with how can we be the energy of the highest good, and how can we be aligning with that and supporting that right in the midst of our daily lives. And so the other thing that I would just say, and this is directly a response to the intro that you provided, I'm sure that the listeners of your program are aware of this as well. So there's the human level of loss and tragedy and calamity, the 6 million that you mentioned. And those beings are eternal light. They're not gone.
Mm-hmm.
They're still here. they're still being of service and assistance and support. So Swami Shankarananda is not gone. He's still here. He's still being of assistance and service and support. And so that's one of the things you're doing when you pick up that book. You're connecting with that eternal beingness, that sort of glad song of life and supreme love that was shared through Swami Shankarananda. And so the book is like this song that comes from that energy that was my teacher. And I can't really refer to my teacher in the past tense. That is my teacher.
I agree. We all agree. We keep on living. And it's good to know how we can perceive our experiences. It's about changing the way we're perceiving it. Before we continue, I want to show this wonderful short clip on the book that was put together by the community so people can, feel what the book is about before we go on. Let me just share. I hope. Let me know if the sound.
Are you feeling vulnerable, fearful in these rapid changing, uncertain times? In the world, there's not just darkness, there's light. And you can trust the light to always be available. In this new book, Divine Protection, Swami Shankarananda will take you through the yoga of the 91st Psalm, known as the Psalm of Protection. Discover the inner serenity and harmony that already abides within you. Peace is within your reach. When you let go of the assumptions that you have held close that no longer serve you, you make space for a new wholeness. Do not hesitate. The path is available to you right now.
Friends would walk up to me and be
That's so profound. And on chapter 1, it talks about something that is so fundamental and yet so forgotten by people nowadays: abiding in God's presence. And the first verse of the psalm: he who dwells in the protection of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. Don't you think, Swami, that many of our problems begin because we want to deal with life without God?
That's a very fair way to put that we feel disconnected. We feel separate. So we feel that we're not part of the oneness. And so as soon as we have the reconnection with the oneness, as soon as we are in the divine presence, then we have that sort of playfulness and awareness of all the options and the possibilities. And so it's really a question. Am I identifying with my human limitations, which exist for any human? There are limitations, and any human has the opportunity to identify with them if we want. Or am I identifying with that in me, which is ever free, which is always connected to kindness and unity and harmony and wholeness and possibility and creativity and that sort of lighthearted energy of laughter that you might hear if you hear children playing on a playground? That is within us also, always. And so each of us is always choosing, am I identifying with kind of like that limited human portfolio? Every human portfolio is slightly different in its limitations. We all have the opportunity to identify with it, or we have the opportunity to identify with eternal light within us, within everyone, within everything. And if we come first to the eternal light, it transforms our perception. transforms our awareness. And then that transforms the way in which we experience and express our humanness as well. And so it actually can and does change the body, the heart, the mind, the life. It changes the relationships. It changes the world as each of us lives into this.
Wow. So I like when you said these were talks. So when he said, talking about this first verse of the psalm, the nature of this psalm is so sublime. You all recognize how familiar it is to you. This most healing of psalms will renew and strengthen you in many, many ways. And he goes on and on. But talking about the world where we are right now, we need so much healing. But we need to reinforce, right, Swami, that we cannot find it without God. So we want to identify that for sure.
Right. So connect with the one, connect with the divine, connect with God, whatever the word is that each of us uses. So for some, Divine Mother, the higher self, for some, the Buddha, for some, Jesus.
Yeah.
Yes. So whatever our name for the divine is, connect with that first. And then we have access to that energy and that awareness and that assuredness, that clarity, that peace, which helps us navigate with wisdom and joy everything that we experience in time and space.
Mm-hmm. In the Spirit's book by Kardec in 1857, he was an educator when he compiled the 1019 questions and answers, and he begins with question 1, what is God? He didn't ask who because not a person. So the answer that came from above was, God is the supreme intelligence of the universe, first cause of all things. As you're saying, doesn't matter the name. It matters that this is the concept, the originator of everything, where everything comes from, the sustainer of life, however we name it. And it's interesting because at some point in the book, Swami Shankarananda, he talks about this very statement that we have printed in our dollar bills. In God we trust. Right? And he says, I think it's so wonderful that the message is on our money, because it's a reminder that we know the difference between the currency and the source of currency, the source of supply. The currency is not the source of supply. It's a symbol of supply. The source of supply is God, the vast consciousness that gave the inspiration to create the currency. Without God, there would not be anything. And without God, nothing was made that was made. So I know people, Swami, they look at money, they feel conflicted as if the money is like evil. But when we take, for example, a dollar bill that says that, it's a constant reminder that the originator of the thinking that made us create this money is so sublime, so above us, that no longer there is a conflict between ourselves as essence and the material world, which is a major, I think, for everyone who is seeking spirituality. A major conflict is, how can I be truly spiritual in the material world, right?
That was so beautiful. I absolutely love what you said. And thank you for sharing the teaching from the founder that gave your radio station its name as well. That's wonderful, so inspiring. And I love the way that connects with the teaching from Swami Shankarananda. And so I think you're right. And I think another way to look at it is, so say that you have a $1 bill, that's an expression of oneness. And as soon as you recognize that that's an expression of oneness, then there is no conflict. It's just part of this energy that the one uses to help us experience the realm of time and space. And so then there's nothing that's sort of conflicted, as you mentioned, but it's just part of this natural flow of life. And so, of course, the one is present even in that as well.
I remember somebody, a young man, came to me once and he said, I really like these teachings, but I'm truly materialistic. I don't think I can let anything go to really immerse myself in these teachings. What would you say to him?
So, when you connect with what you truly love most deeply, and I'm going to invite myself and you and listeners right now to do that, connect with what you truly love most deeply. And sort of don't ask your human mind, don't ask your human ego, if you still have one, what you love most deeply, but just allow yourself to connect with the energy of what you love most deeply. So invite the heart to open and invite the heart to connect with the energy of what you love most deeply. And then connect with the energy of that deep love and set aside any person, any name, any form. So we're just connecting with the frequency of that energy of deep love. We're just connecting with the felt awareness of that energy of deep love. And so each of us has this direct connectedness. And this is coextensive with the source of all that is. So this deep love within us is one with the energy that brings all of time and space into being. So this deep energy is non-separate from, like, let's say you want a cute little red car. This energy is non-separate from the cute little red car. But also, when you are in contact with this energy, you love the cute little red car in a healthy way, like in a non-attached way, because you know, oh, that's just a joyful, playful, wonderful expression of this one that brings the whole universe into being. And so there's no fear, there's no grasping, there's no craving, there's no clinging about the cute little red car. There's just, this is the one in the form of the cute little red car. And so you have a sense, like when you're driving the cute little red car, today is a sunny day outside, so maybe it's even a convertible. You put the top down and you go for a drive in the cute little red car. You have a sense that you're in the presence of the divine, you're in the presence of the one, and you're driving with the divine. And so then it's just joy, embodying as you, and expressing as the red car, and it's joy meeting joy, driving through joy. So that's liberation and freedom. And there's no letting go, there's just joy. But there's also clarity and awareness that it's really the one. It's not that the little red car in itself can ever satisfy any desire. It can't. So if you're going to the red car first and asking it to satisfy your desire, it can't. It won't. So each of us is invited to connect with this sort of fullness, this overflowing, incredible creative energy. And then what is a match for each of us to that creative overflowing energy comes to us.
It's beautiful. I love when you talk about the car, because my daughter is 8 years old, and since she's young, we have this practice when we're driving, not all the time now, but whenever possible. But we used to do that when she was a little younger. We would ride the car and look at the drivers as we were going by, singing, like, I'm just going to say the words, like, you're a child of God, your light, your love, your joy of being. And we would point to the cars and keep saying it as they would go by, and feeling like sprinkling, pixie dust onto them, so they feel like great and joyful. And I feel that's what it is, right? We're in the world, but we are not feeling like the world is giving to us. We're using the things in the world to be. and not the other way around.
Perfect. I love what you just shared, that you and your daughter practice. That's beautiful. Absolutely precious. Thank you. And thank your daughter.
It's good for children. I mean, children learn to look around and spread this understanding and this feeling that even though nobody's hearing us physically, but we are emanating, and practice this conscious emanation, right? Of joy, of recognition that we're all one, as you said, like the oneness. And that's when it brings me to another point in the book. Again, for those who are just coming together now, Divine Protection, the Yoga of Psalm 91 by Swami Shankarananda Giri of Baltimore. On page 109, when I found this, I was enchanted. He says, find something positive in every experience. When you say, I had so many terrible experiences in my life, I pray you will make it your mission to review those and ask yourself, was that experience really a bad experience? Or was that experience something that's helped me grow, that's awakening me the desire to experience a better way of life, a better relationship, better circumstances, a better outlook? This morning, when we were doing the morning prayer, it's so fascinating. I was reading this chapter of another book in Spiritism, and it says things that go hand in hand with it. He says, maybe you haven't received. This is from Emmanuel through the medium Chico Xavier. You have not received what you wanted, the promotion or the person or the situation. But he says, wait and serve. Time will tell you how everything that is happening has led you to happiness. It goes so hand in hand that I was like, oh my gosh, it's that same truth, but such an important practice that we're not taught, right, Swami? To seek the good amidst adversities, right?
That is such a beautiful way to put it. And thank you for sharing the teaching from your prayer this morning and the statement from Swami Shankarananda. And I do think you're exactly right. I think what you're articulating is one of the most healing insights offered by this book, Divine Protection, the Yoga of Psalm 91. And that is that each of us is invited to let go of the kind of feeling of human heaviness and hurt and anger and blame and shame, which we can sometimes carry. And so as we look back over our lives, like those things that we feel most injured by, that teaching is inviting us to reframe them and to see them in a different way. And so one of the shortcuts to that is the question that you shared. So in brief, what is it that my soul has been learning as a result of this incredibly challenging, painful, frustrating human experience that I have gone through? What is it that my soul has been invited to unfold? So what are the divine qualities, or what are the teachings, the understandings that I have gained as a result? And then another teaching that Swami Shankarananda offers, which I think is another wonderful shortcut, he says, if you shouldn't have done it, you wouldn't have done it. And that melts away blame. So where we sort of blame ourselves and we say, why did I do that? Like, that was such a mistake. Why did I do that? He's just letting us know that there was something we were learning and working out. And so as soon as we recognize that, we can say, okay, now I have a different understanding, and now I will choose in a new way. And so it gives us almost like a reset. It gives us the ability to say, here's where I am right now, and I'm going to joyfully claim and enjoy all of my hard-earned wisdom, and without self-blame. I'm going to ask myself, what would I like to create now? How would I love to move forward now? And so each of us then has such a feeling of freshness and such a feeling of joy and possibility. when we encounter life and ourselves in that particular way.
So beautiful. We need it so much. This way of dealing with our perception of reality, because as you know, not necessarily what we see is what is there. It's more how we see things, and that we can change. I remember talking to a wonderful homeopathic doctor in Baltimore, Maryland, and I said to him once, I'm calling you because I need you to help me change my mind. Because sometimes we suffer, oftentimes, if not all the times, we suffer because of the way our outlook in life, not necessarily for the way it is, right?
That is so true. And I love what you said. Did the homeopathic doctor laugh?
He did. He's adorable. He's adorable. And his name is Peter Hindenburger, and he is simply phenomenal. And he has taught me so many things. And I remember that day he laughed out of kindness. But of course, that's the quest of a lifetime or many.
Yes, and so I think that's also a very fair thing. What you just said, I think, is profound and true and worth repeating. So you just said it's the quest of a lifetime, and in the meditation community, we often say this is the practice of a lifetime. And so we recognize the truth of this, and then it's always going to be unfolding. So until the very end of our lives. And so that's one of the amazing things about having been with Swami Shankarananda. He made it clear, and not only said this, but did this, that it's up to us, if we are on a meditative path, to keep meditating every day, until the very end, and to keep choosing what is highest, and to keep choosing what is best, and to keep choosing, I will be kind, I will be patient, I will be steady, I will be as much of service as I possibly can be until the very last breath that I take. And so that's just an incredible reminder that this is, as you said, the quest of a lifetime, as we often say, the practice of a lifetime. And so to be very steady and to be aware, this is not a sort of one and done kind of thing. This is every day. Every day, how is it that I connect with this beingness and invite that beingness spontaneously to share? And so you and your daughter, you share that everywhere that you go. And that's such a beautiful practice, which anyone can benefit from emulating. So anywhere that we are, if we just silently bless and silently wish what is highest, silently wish what is best for every person that we encounter. And that helps our own energy shift as well. So the more that we ourselves are sort of showering goodwill upon everyone else, the more that energy of goodwill inhabits our bodies and our minds and our hearts and our lives as well.
And I love when you highlighted this, the difference, like the quest to practice. And then you mentioned about this learning to be still, which is so difficult because we are in this constant willingness to find the future and the next thing and the next thing, and then we forget to be. And then you talk about the practice of centeredness, grounding. Would you like to tell us more about, since we're talking about meditation, yoga, how the practices, like for example, yoga, can help us feel in charge of our body as well? Because I feel like, for example, I observe my daughter, she's 8. We don't have much of body awareness when we're little, right? And it's something that we have to learn how to say, oh, my body. I'm observing, I'm looking at myself in the mirror, I feel it, I hear it. And then by managing the physical presence, I can also manage even more my presence here, being through the body while I'm here as well.
That was so beautifully articulated. I really love what you said. And I also love what you said because implicitly you're acknowledging there are different ways of being in the body when we're 8 and when we're 18 and when we're 28 and as we move on through life. And so the yogic teachings and the yogic practices, I think often when we say the word yoga in the United States, people think of yoga postures. So they think of yoga asanas and they think of like a physical practice, like a practice that one would enjoy going to a yoga studio. And so traditionally in the yogic teachings, those practices were preparation to help the body be ready to sit in meditation. And so they are fantastic practices. I love yoga asanas and enjoy them greatly. And what we do as a meditation community is focus on the meditation practice. And so one kind of shortcut, and each of us can invite ourselves to feel this right now, but one kind of shortcut is to invite ourselves to feel our feet on the earth. And so right now, actually invite ourselves to push into our feet and allow our feet to contact the earth right beneath us. And just kind of notice what that feels like to feel the support of the earth beneath us. And you can feel there's a calming that immediately happens because we start to feel what it is to be in the body. And then to feel at the base of the spine the same kind of steadiness and poise and balance and support that is available beneath our feet. And then to become aware of the length of the spine. So from the base of the spine up the length of the spine, just to sort of notice there's energy that moves from the base of the spine up the length of the spine. And it's possible to connect with, there's an energy center at the center of the forehead, between the eyebrows. And it's possible to connect with what it feels like between the base of the spine and this energy center in between the eyebrows at the center of the forehead. And even that simple awareness right there can give us a feeling of steadiness and poise and clarity within our body. And then connected with that feeling of steadiness and clarity and poise within our body, now just gently invite yourself to observe the physical space that you're in, to notice what it feels like to be in the room where you are, to notice what it feels like to experience the light, if there's light coming through a window, if there's a breeze, what the air feels like as it brushes past your cheek. Notice that there's an inner felt awareness of our own heartbeat. So when we become a little bit quiet inwardly, we can start to feel the pulse of life itself beating our heart without our having to think about it. And so these are the natural processes of life which are supporting us always. And you can kind of feel there's a way in which tension that we might have been carrying in our shoulders or our neck, it starts to relax, starts to soften its grip. The nervous system begins to quiet and calm. And we naturally begin to access a different part of our brain. So instead of accessing that sort of intense, calendar-driven, fear-based part of our brain, we begin to connect with inventiveness. We begin to connect with a spacious awareness that is beyond words. We begin to be in contact with the possibility of forgiveness, the possibility of wholeness, feeling our own wholeness right now. So whatever the condition of the body or the heart or the mind or the life, that underlying wholeness is always present. And we start to feel that we are supported by that. And that's the energy of the solution. That's the energy of the divine. It's the energy of God, whatever our word for it be. That's the energy that we really adore, that we really long for. And connected with that, we then become able to be present with our families, with our friends, with our tasks, with our work, with our neighborhoods, with our community, with our world, from that inter-awareness, the way in which life flows through you and me and everyone who is listening. And we become aware of when we connect with this wholeness, this possibility of forgiveness, of seeing in a completely fresh way, we amplify that energy, we amplify that intention, and we actually make that energy and intention of wholeness, connectedness, harmony, community, unity, we make that more available to everyone on the planet right now. So it's not that we can force anyone to choose that, but the more that we choose that ourselves, the more we demonstrate in the immediacy and vividness and beauty of our daily lives, that's possible. Every one of us can choose that. And on a silent basis, we're constantly reverberating that energy, that invitation, that unity, that broadcast, that frequency.
So beautiful. And talking about feeling the earth, the connectedness. Today I was walking the dog. She's a beautiful golden retriever. She's 1.5, and she's still very feisty. She saw a squirrel and wanted to run after the squirrel. And I tried to hold her, but she was so strong that suddenly the grass was so wet. I fell seated on that wet, muddy grass. But I felt, literally, like the earth was kissing me, because it wasn't painful at all. It was actually so joyful. I fell and I felt the wetness, the mud. Of course, it was all muddy. And I was like, it's so good to be in touch with our planet at that level. And I felt at the bottom of the spine, like this energy that suddenly, whoosh, I said, maybe I needed that. It was a treatment.
That is such a perfect story. Thank you so much for sharing that.
And it's so beautiful. At the end of the book, almost at the end of the book, of course, it talks about love, because life is all about love. And he says, it's page 179. Well, of course, he's talking about ego, how we detach. And he says, we like to believe that our attachments are love. Our attachments are based on ignorance and fear. Our love is based on knowing who we are, remembering who we are, and loving who we are. The proof that you remember who you are is that you love being who you are. Did you hear that? When you know who you are, you will love who you are. When you love who you are, you love everyone for who they are. It doesn't have to be difficult at all. When we judge another, we're not loving ourselves. Amazing. I love it. In our teachings in Spiritism, Swami, we learn the importance of self-knowledge, and he's tying self-love, self-knowledge with self-love and love for others as the ultimate direction of our everyday lives. And I will repeat this last sentence. When we judge another, we're not loving ourselves. It's striking, don't you think?
Thank you so much for reading that. And so, if I may, I would like to connect the passage that you just read to the story that you just told. And so, I would just mention, so you were in the energy of love. And so you didn't think, oh, this is so terrible that my dog chased the squirrel and that I'm lying here on the earth in the mud. There was no resistance in you. And so that's a perfect example. Like, there was no ego in you. So if you had like this ego vision of, I need to go for a walk and return home not muddy, you would have judged yourself and the walk and the dog and the squirrel, and you would have been deeply unhappy. But because there was no resistance in you, there was no ego, there was just this energy of lifeness, which I know is a made-up word, but it's so true to what you're talking about, just this energy of love, then you were part of the wholeness, you were part of the allness. And so you were able to say, this was a blessing. So you just demonstrated that teaching exactly. So thank you. It's marvelous.
And it's so important as we wrap up this conversation, Swami. I would like you to kindly, in your deepest kindness that you have and you have showed to us, send a message to those who may be here with us now and are struggling for whatever reason. They are seeking clarity, they are seeking consolation, they are seeking solutions. Would you kindly please send a message to them?
Absolutely. And so one of the things that we do at the end of our Sunday meditations is we visualize an altar of light. And so I'm going to invite everyone just to visualize an altar of light in front of ourselves. And on the altar of light, what we are invited to do is to place anything that we would love to transform. And so if you have a feeling of physical pain, or if you have a feeling of grief, or if you have a feeling of fear, anything that can come to us in the human realm that is challenging, excruciating, agonizing, any of that, almost visualize that it's a coat that you've been wearing, and that you now have permission from your soul, from the divine, to take off that coat, even briefly, even just for this next little while, just to take off that coat that's been painful and heavy, and to place it onto the altar of light. And so we're just working with the laws of energy. What touches light becomes light. What touches love becomes love. And so that energy of heaviness transforms into the energy of light, into the energy of wholeness. And then see if you can encounter what it feels like within you when you are aware of what is always present and always available. And so this is that in you, that in me, that in each of us, which is prior to any pain, prior to any feeling of separateness, prior to words, prior to time and space. It's the energy of the one, the energy of wholeness, beauty, divinity. And allow that energy to support every cell in your body, to support your heart, to support your mind, to support your life. And if you like, if you feel comfortable, you can place your hands in prayer at the heart. This is a mudra. So a mudra is an energetic seal. This is a mudra that directs energy, that creates an energetic seal that helps us feel connected to that wholeness. So after we've enjoyed that meditation where we place on the altar of light what we would love to transform, and we connect with our own wholeness, this reminds us that as we go forth from here, we're always connected to that wholeness. So then later today, let's say that you're in a business meeting, or you become impatient or tired or feel strained, you can come back to this energetic seal, to this mudra, and it can help you instantly be in contact with that energy of wholeness. And it's as close to you as the palms of your hands. It's right at the tips of your fingers. It's always there with you. And you are blessed. You are loved beyond measure. Every human in embodiment is blessed and loved beyond measure.
Thank you. We're deeply grateful, deeply, deeply grateful. I want to show a picture of Swami Shankarananda here, his beautiful smile as well, as Swami Nityananda is here with us. We hope this is not going to be the only time you join us here and share so much. Thank you so much, Swami, for being here with us.
Thank you, Vanessa. It's an absolute joy to see you. Thank you for your amazing smile and presence.
Thank you. So, dear friends, please go to the website we have shared with you already, and we'll repeat right here, awakeyogameditation.org. There's so many beautiful things to learn, to experience, to practice online, right, Swami? Online as well. For those who are far away, they can connect online and participate and experience, learn. And for the book, if you go to the website, you'll see the link to the book, but you can go to Amazon very easily. Divine Protection, the Yoga of Psalm 91. It's an easy read, but it's more easily to feel it, because that's what we need, to open the heart, to massage the heart, and to feel the greatness of life, as Swami Nityananda said to us throughout the whole conversation. Thank you, Swami, again. Thank you, Abhishek. Thank you, Lakshmi. Thank you. Thanks to the community that allowed you also to be here with us. Thank you, friends. We hope to see you